On night 14 my ring told me something that stopped me cold. My deep sleep had dropped to 11 minutes. Not 11%. 11 minutes. For an entire night. And I felt fine when I woke up, which honestly scared me more than if I'd felt terrible. Because it meant I'd been walking around for years with no idea what was actually happening while I slept. So I wore a smart ring every single night for 30 days straight, and what I found changed almost everything about how I wind down at night. Stick around because the biggest surprise wasn't even about sleep stages. It was about something I did 2 hours before bed that I never once suspected. Quick thing before we dive in. If you've ever wondered what your own sleep is secretly doing, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what time you actually fall asleep versus what time you think you fall asleep. I guarantee those two numbers don't match. Why I even started this? I wasn't chasing biohacking clout. I was just tired. Not sleepy tired, foggy tired. The kind where you've technically had 8 hours in bed but you still feel like you're wading through wet cement by 2 p.m. So I put a smart ring on my finger for a month, figuring it would either confirm I was broken or reveal something fixable. Here's the thing about rings specifically and why I didn't just use a watch. Rings sit against your finger, which has a dense network of blood vessels close to the skin, and unlike a wrist, your finger barely moves while you sleep. That constant, stable contact matters. A newer generation ring, using dozens of light sensor paths across multiple wavelengths, captures a cleaner signal than most watches ever will. Research comparing consumer wearables has consistently found that finger-worn rings tend to outperform wrist-worn devices for tracking sleep stages, largely because of that stillness and skin contact. But accuracy isn't perfect, and I want to be upfront about that before you trust any of this too much. A rigorous validation study comparing an Oura ring against polysomnography, the gold standard sleep lab test with electrodes glued to your scalp, found the ring's overall accuracy for detecting sleep versus wake sat around 92%. Which is genuinely impressive. But breaking sleep into its 4 stages, light, deep, REM and wake, is a much harder problem. Some studies have put 4-stage accuracy as low as the low 50s%. That doesn't mean the data is useless. It means you should read your sleep score the way you'd read a weather forecast. Directionally useful. Not gospel. The night my deep sleep disappeared. So back to night 14. 11 minutes of deep sleep is startling because deep sleep is when your body does its physical repair work, releasing growth hormone, repairing tissue, and consolidating memory. Most healthy adults spend somewhere between 45 minutes and about an hour and a half in deep sleep across a typical night. 11 minutes is a cliff, not a dip. I went back through my ring's data like a detective. What changed that day? I'd had 2 glasses of wine with dinner hours before bed, which I genuinely thought would help me relax. It turns out alcohol does the opposite of what it feels like it's doing. It might knock you out faster, but as your body metabolizes it overnight, it fragments deep sleep and suppresses REM, sometimes dramatically. I felt like I'd slept fine because I don't remember waking up. But my body remembers everything even when my brain doesn't. That was myth number 1, dismantled by my own data. Alcohol as a sleep aid isn't sleep help. It's sleep theft that doesn't send you a receipt. The REM rebound nobody warns you about. Here's where it got genuinely fascinating. 2 nights after the wine incident, without me changing anything else, my REM sleep spiked to nearly 2 hours, well above my usual average. At first I thought the ring was glitching. It wasn't. This is a documented phenomenon called REM rebound, where your brain, after being deprived of REM sleep, compensates by pushing extra REM into the following nights, sometimes producing more vivid or intense dreams as a side effect. Picture your sleep architecture like a nightly construction schedule. Deep sleep is the foundation crew, working in the first half of the night. REM is the finishing crew, showing up more heavily in the second half, doing the delicate work of processing emotion and memory. When alcohol, stress, or a late night throws off the schedule one night, your body doesn't just shrug it off. It sends the crew back the next chance it gets, working overtime to catch up. What actually moved the needle? By around day 20, patterns started jumping out that had nothing to do with any dramatic story. Just quiet, boring consistency, which turned out to be the real headline of this entire experiment. The single biggest factor wasn't a supplement or a gadget. It was going to bed within the same 30-minute window every night. On nights where my bedtime varied by more than an hour from my average, my HRV or heart rate variability, a marker of how recovered and regulated your nervous system is, dropped noticeably. HRV isn't something you can consciously control, which is exactly what makes it such an honest signal. It's your body grading the day whether you agree with the grade or not. Room temperature was the second surprise. On nights I dropped my thermostat a few degrees cooler, my deep sleep consistently increased. This tracks with something sleep researchers have understood for years. Your core body temperature needs to drop to initiate and sustain deep sleep, and a warm bedroom actively works against that internal cooling process. I'm not talking about freezing, just cooler than what felt cozy. And then there was the 2-hour rule I mentioned at the start. The thing that surprised me most wasn't caffeine, which I'd already cut off by early afternoon. It was screen time. Not because of some mystical blue light poisoning story, but because of what I was actually doing on the screen. Scrolling anxious news or work email late at night correlated with a slower drop into deep sleep and a noticeably elevated resting heart rate for the first 2 hours after I fell asleep. My body was still fighting a battle my mind had already closed the laptop on. Sorting the science from the sales pitch. I want to be fair to the technology here, because it's easy to either worship these devices or dismiss them entirely, and neither reaction is accurate. A systematic review pulling together over 100 studies and close to 100,000 participants found that smart rings measure heart rate and heart rate variability with very high accuracy, and detect basic sleep versus wake with sensitivity in the 93 to 96% range. That same body of research has even found smart rings capable of flagging illness before symptoms appear, detecting subtle physiological shifts days in advance in some studies. Where these devices get shakier is the fine detail, especially precise minute counts for light, deep, and REM sleep. Different ring brands tested against the same lab-grade equipment showed dramatically different accuracy, some scoring in the low 50s%, others as low as the mid-30s. So the lesson from 30 days of data wasn't to trust every single number to the minute. It was to trust the trends. One bad night means little. A pattern repeating across a week means something. This is general information based on published research, not personalized medical advice. If you have ongoing sleep problems, chronic fatigue, or symptoms like loud snoring or gasping at night, that's a conversation for a doctor or a sleep specialist, not a wearable. What 30 days actually taught me. So what works? Not the fancy stuff. Not a single supplement, gadget setting, or hack. What worked was almost embarrassingly simple. A consistent bedtime, a slightly colder room, skipping the second glass of wine, and putting my phone in another room for the last hour before sleep. None of that is groundbreaking advice. But seeing it proven night after night in my own data made it real in a way that no article ever had. The ring didn't fix my sleep. It just stopped letting me lie to myself about it. And maybe that's the actual point of all this technology. Not to optimize you into some perfect biohacked version of yourself, but to hand you a mirror that doesn't blink so you finally have to notice what your own habits are doing while you're not paying attention. If you're curious about your own sleep, you don't need a ring to start. You need honesty about your bedtime, your last drink, and your last scroll. The data just makes the honesty harder to avoid. If this kind of experiment is your thing, subscribe, because next month I'm running an even stranger 30-day test, and you're going to want to see what happened.